Hello, this is the first video of our Python Basics playlist. This is an updated version of playlist from 2022 translated into English. And let's begin with our first lesson. If you've never encountered with programming, then you should understand some basic conceptions. These are variable, a denominated area of RAM that can be used to store some data. Data type of variable that determines set of values, operations applicable to them. Exception, that's an error that occurred during execution of your program and that can be handled. Program is a set of instructions that allow a computer to perform a calculation, and a programming language is a language intended for writing computer programs. It defines a set of lexical, syntax, semantic rules that determine the appearance of program code and actions that the executor will perform under its control. With that being said, let's start. So why we will be learning Python? As you can see from the table charts on the slide, Python is a programming language number 1. It's the most popular programming language nowadays. Also, it's quite easy to learn in comparison with other programming languages such as C++. The third reason is that Python is good for both solving educational tasks while you're learning programming and creating real applications. So after you end this or some other programming courses, with the knowledge of Python and some additional libraries, you can create some advanced projects or work as a programmer. Python is just fine for that. And last reason is that Python is cross-platform programming language. It means that you can run the same code on Linux, on Mac OS X, on Windows, on any platform. You wouldn't need to make major changes to your code in order to port it to other platforms. Usually it will work just out of the box. So in order to start learning Python, we need to prepare our environment. First of all, you need to install the Python itself. You can download it from the official website, python.org. That's applicable for those who use Windows or Mac OS X. If you use Linux, you need to just install Python 3 package using your package manager from repositories. The second step you need to accomplish in order to start learning Python is to install an IDE, an integrated development environment. That's the main program you will use. You will type your code there, so make sure to find the suitable option for you. Some IDEs are intended for beginners, others created in order to provide user with the maximum customization features. So that's totally up to you. You can choose any IDE you'd like. On the slide, I put 3 the most popular IDEs out there. That's pycharm, the Visual Studio Code, and Wing 101. In my opinion, Wing 101 would be the best option for the beginners, for those who aren't familiar with the programming at all. There's also a topic I wanted to cover today, that's interpretation versus compilation. So Python, unlike other programming languages, use interpretation. There are some both advantages and disadvantages of this method of running program. So let's talk about them a little bit. As for advantages of interpretation, that's quick execution of program. You don't need to compile program into an executable file. You have a script and the Python will just run lines one by one. So it doesn't know the result at the runtime. The second advantage of interpretation is cross-platform programs. As I said, Python is a cross-platform programming language. That's also because you don't run executable that compiler gave you. So a single script can be run almost on every platform that Python supports. This way you need to make a minimum effort in order to port your program to all major platforms. But there's also a disadvantage of interpretation due to the fact that program code is run line by line and not compiled. The interpreter doesn't know the result at the runtime, so you will have an error when the interpreter encounters with it. Therefore, some errors may be left unnoticed until execution of program. There are some advantages of compilation though. As one of them, you don't need to install additional software on user's computer except libraries. So when you distribute your Python software, you will need to install Python itself on user's computer. When we talk about compilation, you compile the program in advance for the specific platform and distribute the executable file that doesn't require to install any interpreters. The second advantage of compilation is that all errors except logical are detected at compile time. The compiler would just throw an error and wouldn't give you an executable if it encounters an error. But there's also a disadvantage of compilation, such as longer program compilation. When we talk about huge projects, it can take up to several hours in order to compile an executable. So, of course, interpretation in this case is much better. Also, I wanted to talk about Python program structure. So, what you need to remember is that program in Python resides in a .py file. These files are called modules. Later, when we will talk about modules, you'll find out that you can create your own modules and import them in your program in order to split your program code into several files. Later, we will talk about why it's necessary to split your program code into several blocks or files. Also, we need to keep in mind that in Python, we don't need to create an entry point function as in the other programming languages. Therefore, empty file is a valid program. So in order to start programming in Python, you don't need to use so-called main function, as in C or C++, for example. You just type your code. The last thing I wanted to talk about today is how this course is arranged. So, according to the plan, we have 19 lessons. Each of them has a homework assignment that is crucial to do by yourself in order to improve your programming skills and remember the topic we discussed in the lesson. Last homework is explained in the beginning of every lesson, so if you can't solve the task, don't worry, in the next lesson I will explain how should it be done. A link to a folder with a presentation and some other useful files is always in the description. Last thing, you can ask your questions in the comments below. They will be answered as soon as possible. So if you don't understand something, you want me to explain it again, you can write in comments and I will answer you. That's all for now, thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel, write your comments, and like the video if it was useful for you.